Hello dear listeners, today Mona MC invites you to listen to a good love story. The Evil President's Little Wife author, Nguyen Ngoc Tran K category, language love source. Collector introduction to this fascinating love story. The Deep family has two twin daughters. The older sister's name is Deep Moc Van, the younger name is Deep Moc Nhien. Their personalities are not the same. Deep Moc Van is cunning and scheming, while Deep Moc Nhien is gentle and kind. Even though she was the same child, her parents always did not treat her as their biological child and only treated Moc Van well. She will never have a part in beautiful things, thanks to her seductive appearance and cunning. Her sister lured the general manager of the Thien Lanh group, named Thien Lanh. 3 years ago, his parents died in a traffic accident. The day he buried his parents, he almost collapsed, no longer wanting to live in this world until he met her. The girl only gently handed him the letter, but it was enough to make him regain his strength and determination to strive to develop to where he is now. He only knew her last name was Deep, so when he met Deep Moc Van, he accidentally mistook her for the girl from the past. Because of some misunderstandings, Deep Moc Van wanted her to be a substitute at his wedding. While he staged a play so that outsiders could look in and say this sister was evil, but she was considered a success. Good people. God is so ironic. The person he was looking for in the past is right in front of him, but he doesn't know it. Still insulting and hating her. What will happen to both of them in the end? Do he and she recognize each other, or does she continue to go through painful days? Chapter 1. Visiting home. The Deep family. This is a house that, although not as luxurious as a villa, is still spacious. Since morning, they have been busy preparing to welcome their future son-in-law. The Deep family has two biological daughters who are twins. They are as similar as two drops of water. Both daughters are beautiful and touching, but the personalities are completely different. The cunning, scheming sister who uses tricks to seduce men, Deep Moc Van. Moc Van has caught a big fish, which is the general talent of Thien Lanh group, Thien Lanh. Thanks to her talent in speaking, everyone loves her wherever she goes, especially as her biological child. But her parents love her older sister more. Deep Moc Nhien, the second daughter of the Deep family, she is gentle and kind, but is always overshadowed by her older sister. All of Moc Nhien's achievements while in school were stolen by Moc Van. Deep Moc Nhien, what are you doing up there at this hour? Come down here and help. Do you think you're a lady? Her mother stood and called from downstairs. When Moc Nhien heard her mother say that, she stopped writing. She had a dream of becoming a fashion designer, but the Deep family did not allow it. Her designs were very beautiful and eye-catching. Moc Nhien tied her hip-length hair back. Her chestnut-colored hair looked simple but very beautiful. She went downstairs. She was so used to her mother's cold words that she didn't care and went straight to the kitchen. Her mother went to Moc Van's room. Daughter, you are so beautiful. Moc Van raised her eyebrows. It was natural. Her hair was carefully done. Her body was full of branded clothes. How could she not be beautiful? Soon it was dark and Deep's father came home from work. At this time, a Lamborghini car parked in front of the Deep family's gate. A man in a black suit got out. He looked very attractive but cold. Unapproachable. Always had a dangerous breath on him. This man seems very mysterious. He is Thien Lanh, the person whose name everyone is afraid of just mentioning his name. Lanh, I'm here. Come inside quickly. Thien Lanh nodded, then took Moc Van's waist and walked inside. Uncle, aunt, I am Thien Lanh, Moc Van's boyfriend. He said. Today he came here to ask Moc Van to marry him. Father Deep nodded. With a son-in-law like that, his company's problems would be easy to solve. He sat down on the sofa. Moc Van sat next to him. Mom, Dad, dinner is ready. Moc Nhien went home to tell Deep's parents. The girl's soft, lovely voice accidentally reached his ears. He raised his head to look at her. Why are the two daughters of the Deep family so similar? Seeing that, Deep's mother immediately smiled and said, "Ah, he is Deep Van's twin brother. Okay. It's time for us to go down to dinner." Everyone went down to the kitchen to eat. Moc Nhien, as usual, waited for the whole family to finish eating before eating. She had to eat with the Deep family's employees. No one cared about that. Deep's mother put food into a bowl for him, but he didn't bother to move his chopsticks. How could he eat these dishes? Father Lee sat down to chat with him. All he talked about was the company. Thien Lanh smiled coldly. He knew exactly what he wanted. Tit. 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 It was his phone. Thien Lanh stood up and went to the bathroom. His grandparents were not angry because of his actions. When passing the cooking area to go to the bathroom, he saw the image of Moc Nhien. Her hair loose naturally, drawing dresses that she would never touch in her whole life. His eyes glanced briefly, then walked into the bathroom. "What's going on? Speak quickly." Secretary Hoang said. "President Han, we were deceived. The company we just cooperated with took the money and ran away. Let them run, as far as possible, don't let me catch them." When he said this, his eyes were cold and scary. Thien Lanh put her phone away and walked out. She still sat there silently looking at her design. "I want this wedding to go faster. It will be held the day after tomorrow. The Deep family doesn't need to prepare anything." Mr. and Mrs. Deep nodded repeatedly, laughing and unable to close their mouths. He stood up to leave. Moc Van followed him to the car. She hugged him, her chest rubbing against his hand. "Lan. I want it." The voice is truly that of a soul-catching goblin. He showed no expression, pulled her into the car, took off his clothes, and Moc Van lasciviously caressed her body. Very quickly. There were many lustful moans mixed with the men's panting sounds in the car. The next day, Thien Lanh went to try on wedding dresses with Moc Van. While he was changing clothes, his phone vibrated outside, and Moc Van secretly read his message. Content: "Mr. Han, the company is bankrupt." She was surprised, calmly deleted the message and put down the phone. "Lan. I'm tired. Choose an outfit and let's go home." He nodded and drove her home. Secretary Hoang called him. "Mr. Tran, the company over there is bankrupt." He smiled coldly and drove to the company. Moc Van went back to her room. She thought of another plan. He was bankrupt. She couldn't be stupid enough to marry him. Moc Van passed by Moc Nhien's room. She accidentally saw a drawing left on the bed. There is currently a competition in America. If she takes this card to the competition and lets Moc Nhien marry Thien Lanh instead of her, it will be okay. Already. Chapter 2. Misunderstood messages. Moc Van took out her phone to call Thien Lanh. He was driving and saw her calling, so he put on his headphones. "Listen here." This was the first person he talked to like that, just because a misunderstanding happened. 3 years ago his parents had a traffic accident. They left his life without a word. The most bitter thing was that the driver who hit them and killed them was Deep Moc Van. But no one knew about this. The day his parents were buried, he almost collapsed and no longer wanted to live. But, at that time he met her, Deep Moc Nhien. She saw him standing next to her parents' grave like that and she didn't say anything, but she wrote him a letter. Content: "Even though you are not a child, believe in one thing, your parents in heaven are looking at you, hoping you live well. Try your best, for them, for the deceased." The corner of the paper has the word, "Deep," written on it. Moc Nhien came and gave it to him and then left without saying a word. He only had time to see her face. From then on, he rebuilt his life. His career developed, he went to find that girl again, then her sister recognized that she was the girl from that year. Then, only now did he treat her sister so well. Lan, come to my house tonight for dinner. Tomorrow we'll go home together. I'm so happy. Thien Lanh smiled gently. Okay, I will come later. It's just that he arrived in the afternoon. The place he lives in is a villa. The temporary residence is also the presidential suite of the hotel, and her house is nothing more or less than a slum compared to his. At night, he bought the Deep family 5 bottles of wine brewed in 1990, expensive jewelry and branded clothes, which Mr. and Mrs. Deep happily accepted. Their son-in-law was very generous. Late at night, Mr. and Mrs. Deep went upstairs to rest first. Moc Nhien said, "Wait for me a moment, I'm going upstairs to do something." He kissed her forehead. "Hurry up." Moc Nhien nodded. "I know." She went up to Moc Nhien's room. Moc Nhien was in the room taking a shower and getting ready for bed. Moc Nhien took her phone and sent a text message, then went out. At this time, Moc Nhien went downstairs and saw him holding the phone, her eyebrows slightly furrowed. "Lan, please show me something." Thien coldly smiled and put the phone in his pocket. "It's just a spam message." "Let me see." Moc Nhien snatched the phone back from his hand. She stood up angrily. This? It must be a misunderstanding. Good boy, give me the phone." Moc Nhien tried to force out a few tears. "Lan, do you no longer love me? You can't love your fiancé's sister." "Younger sister?" Thien Lanh asked in confusion. Moc Nhien nodded. "Yes. This is her phone number." "What do you say?" His eyes became cold. He didn't expect such a girl to have a cruel heart and want to take her sister's husband. They talked a bit loudly so Mr. and Mrs. Deep heard them, so they quickly went downstairs. "Moc Nhien, what's going on?" Moc Nhien hugged her mother. "Mom, what did I do wrong? Now my sister has the intention of stealing her fiancé." "What do you say? Does he dare to do that?" Moc Nhien showed the phone to Mr. and Mrs. Deep. "This is the message Moc Nhien just sent. I have loved you since we first met. Deep Moc Nhien, please step down for me right now." Deep's mother shouted loudly. Moc Nhien heard her mother call and didn't dare to delay. So she went downstairs. "Dad, Mom, what's going on? Are you still naive enough to ask this question now? Who are you to want to steal your sister's husband?" Moc Nhien still couldn't understand what was going on. She looked at her father and then at her mother. "Who told you to text your brother-in-law?" Moc Nhien shook her head. "Mom, I don't have it. Everything is so clear and you still want to deny it?" Deep's mother said angrily. She looked at the message on his phone and shook her head, but no one believed her. Pop, a painful slap on her face. The one who hit her was Mr. Deep, but she didn't feel the pain anymore. She was so used to this. "Go to your room. If you ever have thoughts like that again I will beat you to death." Moc Nhien brought her memories and regrets to her room. Her slender body bumped into his. A familiar feeling rushed into his mind. Why did this feeling feel so real? "Okay. Everything is okay. You two go to the room. I want to talk to her," Thien Lanh said. Mr. and Mrs. Deep looked at each other then went up to the room. Moc Nhien wiped away her tears. "Lan, you can't hurt my feelings. I promise," he said and kissed Moc Nhien's forehead. The next day, Moc Nhien went into Deep Nhien's room and picked up her design. "Moc Nhien, what are you doing? Why are you still standing here? Haven't you gone to makeup yet?" Moc Nhien smiled coldly. "I leave it to you." "What are you saying?" Moc Nhien asked. Moc Nhien smiled coldly. "Don't you like it? We will change positions." "No, I don't want to. Give me that blueprint back. It's almost time for me to fly." Moc Nhien asked for money to go to America to participate in the contest. Mr. and Mrs. Deep, worried about Moc Nhien's happiness, agreed to let her go. "Mom, please quickly bring this child to me." Mrs. Deep shook her head, not understanding what her beloved Moc Nhien wanted. She ordered the housekeeper to drag Moc Nhien to get makeup done and wear a wedding dress. Chapter 3. Don't dream about having a wedding night. When it was time to pick up the bride, Thien Lanh, wearing a neat suit and a black bow tie around his neck, was, to put it mildly, the most handsome groom ever. Deep's parents followed behind in his Ferrari, while he and she sat in the Lamborghini. On the way, he and she didn't say anything. Thien Lanh found it strange and asked, "Moc Van, are you unwell somewhere?" Her heart was shocked when he called her Moc Van. Why did everyone value her more than her? If that was the case, then why would they have given birth to her before? Now she could look closely at his face. He was the young man she accidentally saw at the cemetery that day. Do you still remember her? Probably not. Moc Nhien shook her head. Thien Lanh caressed her face. Be good, don't worry about anything. Why was she so unhappy? Just last night she was beaten for wanting to steal her sister's husband. And this morning she had to get married in her sister's place. The car quickly stopped at the church. He held her hand tightly and went in. Moc Nhien's face had a moving beauty, but her eyes were also sad to the touch. She was like a weak sparrow living in the vast sky. No matter what her relatives did, she did not fight back. Because she knew she was incapable. His guests all came to participate. The CEO of Thien Lanh Group was getting married. Being invited was their honor. Who would be stupid not to come? Thien Lanh, do you agree to marry Deep Moc Van and live happily together in the future, even though you are sick and poor? Will you always be by her side to take care of her? The priest read out spiritual questions. Thien Lanh looked into her eyes, but she avoided those eyes. I agree, he replied. When she asked Moc Nhien, she looked into his happy eyes. What should she do? She had no way out anymore. Moc Nhien gently nodded. The priest swore they were husband and wife. And the two exchanged rings. He bent his head down to kiss her. Moc Nhien moved his head to the side. The guests looked at each other in surprise. Thien Lanh, I promised I would never hurt you. At this time, Moc Van came in from outside the door, tears streaming down her face. Thien Lanh heard Moc Van's voice and looked at Moc Nhien in surprise. Lanh, I didn't expect her to be like that. When I wasn't paying attention, she knocked me out and pretended to be my bride, but you didn't realize that. Do you know how sad I am? Thien Lanh worriedly said. Moc Van, I didn't know she was a fake. No, I don't want to hear anymore. I'm going. We'll end here. I wish you happiness. Moc Nhien, live well. Don't be stubborn like at home. I pamper you like that, but then this is probably not possible anymore. Moc Nhien smiled. This is a perfect play. She obviously became the villain. Moc Nhien said softly, Sister, I will try to live happily. He is my man. From now on don't look for him anymore. Everyone looked at each other. Not expecting the Deep family to have such a cunning daughter, blatantly stealing her sister's husband. Moc Van ran out. Thien Lanh's forehead veins twitched. He looked at Moc Nhien with cold eyes, almost choking her to death. It seemed like living in the Deep family was living in hell, but little did she know that the door to hell had just opened. Everything for her was just the beginning. Moc Nhien was taken back to his villa, and he had to stay to receive guests. Tonight Thien Lanh drank more and got tipsy. Maybe tonight will be very difficult for her. No, not tonight but later, it will be very difficult and humiliating. At night, it was 11 o'clock at night and he still hadn't returned. Outside the window, the wind blew strongly through the tree branches, making a cold, terrifying sound. She was still wearing the wedding dress from the morning. Young master, ma'am is in this room. A maid had difficulty helping him into the room. Moc Nhien heard it and went out to open the door for them. She helped the maid to help him. Go get me some water. Moc Nhien told her. Thien Lanh smelled of alcohol. He pushed her away. Get out, don't make me hate you more, it's despicable. He mumbled and walked towards the bed. Lying down on the large bed, are you still dreaming about going to the wedding room? It's dirty, we share the same blood but it's so dirty. Moc Nhien did not show any attitude. The maid brought him hangover soup, followed by a person carrying a basin of water and a towel. Let me, Moc Nhien said. The maid nodded. Yes, ma'am. Moc Nhien moved closer to him. She unbuttoned his shirt. Thien Lanh shook her hand. Go away, don't touch me, are you still paranoid that I will ignore you? Moc Nhien squeezed the towel. You're drunk, you smell of alcohol. You need to wipe it off. Shut up, don't use this voice to talk to me. He shouted. Thien Lanh sat up and squeezed her chin. Deep Moc Nhien. Listen carefully, you will never have me. Never be a real Mrs. Han. Just wait and see what you will get when took away his sister's happiness. Moc Nhien frowned tightly in pain. She lowered her eyes. Thien Lanh hated her current appearance, clearly cunning, full of tricks, but her appearance was gentle and weak. He pulled her hand and pushed her out of the room. Get out of here. Don't dream of having a wedding night. Chapter 4. Do you have the right to refuse? Thien Lanh went into the room and locked the door. He slowly walked towards the bed, muttering a woman's name. Moc Van. Don't worry. I will get justice for you, Moc Van. On the wedding night, the bride was kicked out of the room. No one was as humiliated as her. Moc Nhien smiled bitterly, lifted her skirt and went downstairs. She went to the housekeeper. Uncle, please help me with something. The housekeeper didn't like Moc Van very much in the past, because every time she came, she only scolded the housekeepers. Even she was the housekeeper, so now she thinks Moc Nhien was Moc Van at that time. Madam, if you have any advice, don't be so polite. Her voice was slightly mocking. Moc Nhien smiled. Even a housekeeper could bully her. Let me arrange another room for you. Isn't tonight the wedding night? Why arrange another room? Moc Nhien said softly. He kicked me out. This is not your usual appearance. Who are you? Moc Nhien said. I'm Moc Nhien, her twin sister. Please help me. The housekeeper didn't say anything. She went upstairs, followed by the girl who had difficulty putting on the wedding dress. The housekeeper took her to a bedroom on the 3rd floor. Madam, please stay in this room. Moc Nhien said. Don't call me wife. I'm not his wife. I'm just a substitute. I'll leave later. The butler is silent. Should she believe it or not, she didn't say anything more. She turned and left. Knock, knock. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Moc Nhien went to open the door. Madam, these are all the things the young master prepared for you. All 5 maids brought expensive clothes, bags, and shoes for her. These things were prepared by her brother-in-law for her sister, not hers. Moc Nhien watched them retreat and closed the door. She couldn't wear this to sleep. Moc Nhien decided to take a nightgown into the bathroom. She took off her wedding dress, took off the crown on her head, erased all the makeup on her face. Now only left was pink-white skin and naturally plump red lips. Coarse. She let the cold water flow down her body, squatting down and hugging her knees. The camouflage cover that had been on all day was also taken off. She sobbed. What should she do? Why is she so miserable? Being harmed by his own family members. After showering, she went out to dry her hair and went to bed. After all, she still had to live. Even though living wasn't good, it was still better than dying. Next morning, Moc Nhien woke up and went to the bathroom. She put on her simple dress and went downstairs. At this time, Thien Lanh was sitting at the dining table waiting for her. Sit down. He spoke coldly. Moc Nhien gently pulled out the chair and sat down opposite him. She worriedly lowered her face. Deep Moc Nhien, after all, you are my nominal wife. Now that your sister is gone, it's better to let you stay by my side as a substitute. Wait until your sister comes back and then get the hell out of here. Her shoulders trembled slightly. Did he want her to act as a body double for her sister? Moc Nhien lowered her face even further. Raise your head, he shouted. The housekeeper stood next to her, both scared and feeling sorry for Moc Nhien. It turns out she thought wrongly about her last night. Moc Nhien tried to suppress her fear and raised her head to look at him. He smiled coldly. So disgusting, from your eyes to your voice. Luckily you have the same face as your sister. Otherwise I would have killed you a long time ago. Moc Nhien smiled bitterly. Thien Lanh stood up. You obediently stay at home for me. Don't even try to step foot out. You should remember that you are just a substitute. Nothing more and nothing less. Can I ask you something? Moc Nhien asked softly. Thien Lanh said, beg me? How can a cruel person beg me? Can you give me some pocket money? When she came to the Han family, she only brought her own clothes, nothing else. Her parents took all her savings. Now she has many things she wants to buy, such as paper, pencils, and crayons, but has no money. Thien Lanh walked towards her. He squeezed her chin. Is your true face now showing? The purpose is just for my money, dirty. She didn't say anything, because even if she explained now, no one would listen to her. Okay, if that's the case, I'll use money to insult you. If you want money like that, then tonight, take a shower and lie on the bed waiting for me. I'll give you the money you want. Moc Nhien shook her head. No, if you don't give it, I won't ask anymore. Do you have the right to refuse? Thien Lanh said and walked out. Quickly the Lamborghini car left the villa. Moc Nhien looked at the housekeeper and smiled wryly. I'll serve it to you after we finish eating. Madam, you just eat. Let the servants clean up this matter. How is that possible? Thien Lanh said that she would never truly be Mrs. Han. Moc Nhien tried to sit down and eat all of her breakfast. After all, she needed to fill her stomach first. She had rarely eaten like that at home before. Chapter 5. Selling your body for money. After finishing breakfast, Moc Nhien helped everyone clean up and then went to the living room. Thien coldly called Secretary Hoang. How is she? Have you found her yet? General Han, Miss Deep has papers to leave for France, but there is no one there. I don't know where she is now. He said coldly. I don't want to raise a bunch of bad eaters. He said, then coldly hung up. Moc Nhien looked at this villa. This place is very large and luxurious. Everything is made of expensive materials. She felt her sister was very lucky, because she found a rich man who loved her so much. In particular, he is a very emotional person, because that year she saw him crying next to his parents' grave. With nothing to do, she just went to the garden to sit and watch the birds flying in the sky. She was truly a lonely person. Even the birds had friends, but she had nothing. Since childhood, I have lacked the love of my parents and have no close friends. The housekeeper looked at her from behind. She saw that she was a really weak and gentle person. Why did the young master treat her like that? At night, Moc Nhien finished dinner and went to the bathroom to take a shower. When she came out of the bathroom, she saw him standing right at her door. Why are you here? Thien Lanh locked the door and smiled contemptuously. If you still pretend to be pure, I'm helping you make money. No, I don't need money anymore. Go out. Moc Nhien cowered in the corner of the wall. The man in front of him was really dangerous. His suit was neat, he smelled of wine, his eyes were cold, his hair was a bit messy. Thien Lanh did not pay attention to her objections. He lifted her on his shoulders and threw her onto the big bed. Ah, no. Moc Nhien retreated towards the bed. Thien Lanh took off the tie around his neck and pulled her towards him. Moc Nhien struggled. No, please. I don't need money anymore. He smiled coldly, then grabbed her hands tightly above her head. He used the tie to tie her hands tightly. No, don't, I beg you. Her legs tried to struggle. He didn't listen to her pleas and continued to use a belt to tie one of her legs to the foot of the bed. Her position at this time was very humiliating. Moc Nhien cried and begged him, I beg you. Forgive me. Pop, he raised his hand and slapped her in the face. Shut up for me, don't let me hear your voice. Moc Nhien's eyes filled with tears and she shook her head weakly. He took off his shirt, followed by his pants. Do you want money? I'll give you money. Roar, he tore off her nightgown. A soft, attractive body appeared before his eyes. No, don't, please. She weakly begged. Her hands and feet were tied tightly. Thien Lanh tore off all her underwear. Moc Nhien panicked and closed her legs. But he had tied her legs to both corners of the bed, so there was no way she could close them. He bent down to kiss her lips, biting and sucking Moc Nhien's lips. Moc Nhien sobbed and said, You clearly don't love my sister. If you loved my sister you wouldn't have done that. I love your sister, I'm taking revenge for your sister, don't provoke me. The person who will be hurt the most will still be you. He bit hard on her chest. Moc Nhien frowned in pain and frowned. He inserted a finger into her clitoris. This place had never been touched by anyone. The cave was still very small. He was interested in inserting another finger. Please, stop. She cried and said, That place hurts so much. He leaned close to her ear and said, You're also cleaner than I thought. He accelerated his finger speed. A little lubricant was released. Still pretending. Look at how your body reacts. You're truly shameless. The flower acupuncture point clamped tightly on his finger. His scalp was tight. The bottom was already screaming for him to be freed. Thien Lanh took off her underwear. A large masculine object appeared before her eyes. Moc Nhien shook her head. Please. Stop. I will listen to whatever you want. I want you, he said and pushed that big thing hard inside her. The thin membrane inside was destroyed by a large object, causing her to cringe. Moc Nhien cried in pain. Please. Get out. It hurts so much. Hoo-hoo. He was still frantically moving in and out of her tightly closed vagina. For the first time, there was no foreplay, causing her to faint and wake up in pain, but he still didn't care. He only knew that being inside her was very difficult. Warm and happy. Why are you holding me so tightly and forcing me out? I said. Moc Nhien bit her lip to stop herself from moaning. It wasn't until morning that he let her go, speeding up the pace and sending a stream of milky liquid inside her. Moc Nhien cried until her eyes were swollen, her voice was hoarse. She no longer had the strength to beg him anymore, her bottom was in so much pain, it was as if this body was no longer hers. Thien Lanh walked into the bathroom, washed himself and then went out. Only wearing a towel to cover that manly object. He went back to his room to get a bottle of medicine and then went to her room. Moc Nhien was still lying tiredly on the bed. He untied her and pulled her hair to sit up. She was in pain when her body moved. He opened the bottle of medicine and poured it into her mouth. Her chin was squeezed tightly, causing Moc Nhien to swallow all the medicine. This is a birth control pill with very high side effects. If used too much, it can lead to infertility. He smiled coldly and threw her a wad of money. He said, This money is yours. I'm happy to use it to insult you. Chapter 6. Are you living happily? The next morning, Moc Nhien woke up. Her whole body was sore, and there was a burning pain below. She moved her arms and legs and sat on the head of the bed. She was not wearing any clothes, only a blanket covered her body. There was a little blood on the bedsheet. This was something she had kept for the past 20 years. The man took the beast and stole it in one night. She really wanted to cry, but she didn't have the strength anymore. It was so dark that her tears had dried up from begging him. Moc Nhien took her tired body into the bathroom, took a quick shower, then got dressed and went out. Moc Nhien picked up the coins he threw last night. This man was truly generous, giving her so much money. Knock, knock. At this moment the door opened and the housekeeper walked in. Madam, let's go downstairs for breakfast. Moc Nhien saw her and immediately smiled. Don't call me ma'am. My sister is the real ma'am. Please help me wash the sheets on this bed. Yes, go down and have breakfast. I'll send someone to replace it. Last night she accidentally heard how the young master tormented her. She had worked here for 30 years and had never seen the young master treat a woman like that. Moc Nhien went downstairs to have breakfast. She looked around. Where is he? The young master went to work early. A female maid said. Moc Nhien finished breakfast and went to the room to change clothes to go out. Madam, where are you going? Let me call the driver to take you there. The butler said. Moc Nhien frowned. Don't call me that anymore. Just call me Moc Nhien. Otherwise Thien Nhien. Nhien, or Nhien Nhi is up to you. But don't call me lady anymore. Okay, I know, wife. Thien Nhien. Moc Nhien held her hand. I'm going out to buy some things. I'll be back later. Don't bother driving. Moc Nhien took the bus to a bookstore, where she bought some paper, pencils, and crayons to help with the design. Next, she went to the bank to make herself a card. With so much money, she kept one card for safety. With nowhere else to go, she returned to the villa. Even though she knew that this place was just a substitute, a cage to trap her. Moc Nhien still returned. It was around noon when Moc Nhien returned. She ate and then went up to her bedroom. She took out the things she bought and drew the dresses she liked. Only this helped her forget all the unpleasant things. She has been doing the same thing in the Deep family for the past 10 years. The housekeeper then entered the room. Madam, please eat some of this lotus seed porridge. At noon I saw you could only eat a few tablespoons and not even eat rice. Moc Nhien is still focusing on her work. Thien Nhien. The butler called back. Moc Nhien then raised her head and smiled. Just leave it there for me, I'll eat later. Okay. The butler nodded and retreated. In the evening, while she was eating, Thien Lanh came back. He was not drunk like last night, but today he looked serious and elegant like a man. As soon as he entered the house, the phone rang. Tit. 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 It was Mr. Deep Thien Hoa. He laughed coldly. Do you still have the guts to call me? Bringing a fake bride, you're lucky you haven't destroyed Deep's family yet. And today you still dare to contact me. Looking at her sitting in the kitchen eating, he smiled contemptuously and walked towards it. Hello, what's going on? He sat down opposite her, ready to turn on the loudspeaker. Mr. Deep said. Thien Lanh, tomorrow is the day to return to Moc's mother's house. Moc, of course, remember to come on time tomorrow. I have something to tell you. It seems that your Deep family's courage is getting bigger and bigger, daring to cross me, and now you still ask me. Isn't this Deep Moc Nhien of yours just like trash? I'm still afraid to leave it at my house, I'm still afraid. Dirty, why do you need her back? Moc Nhien's calm movements also stopped. She blinked to let the tears flow back inside. Who said that? She is my daughter. Thien Lanh said loudly. Shut up, it's just because of Moc Van that I don't compare with you guys. I bought this Deep Moc Nhien, from now on she belongs to me. You just say the price, I will be wrong. The person who brought you was not short a penny. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Thien Lanh looked at her. Deep Moc Nhien, are you living happily? Despicable, he said, then stood up and went upstairs. Moc Nhien smiled bitterly. Yes, you are despicable. Would the rebuttal have a different result? If she had known this day would come, she would not have sent him that letter 3 years ago. Thien Lanh finished showering and went into the study room to work. Moc Nhien helped everyone clean up. Madam, leave it for us to do. Moc Nhien smiled. It's okay. I'm used to it. The butler looked at her from afar and shook his head. She was clearly a good person, but the young master did not know how to appreciate her. He worked until late at night before going to bed. When he passed by her room, he saw her still awake, drawing something, the light of the chandelier covering her slender body lying on the bed. For some reason he felt very peaceful.